In the ancient Jewish culture, the existence of the spirit world was like common knowledge, a given. And throughout the Bible, the spirit world is treated as though, duh, everybody knows that. When someone dies, and the modern translations translate that as they breathed their last, or they expired, or they simply died. Typically, the King James translators say they gave up the ghost. That was their thought. But as I discuss the spirit world with my atheist and deconstructionist friends in this postmodern culture, I find that many people absolutely deny the existence of a spirit world. There are many people who believe that it is only what we can sense, what we can touch, what we can understand through science that is real. And I'm going to say that is absolutely backwards. What's real is the spirit world, in that the spirit world pre-existed this, and the spirit world will be there when this and everything we see and touch is gone. The belief and understanding of a spirit world is critical. I think God lets us see things like superposition and quantum entanglement just to show us that there does exist truth outside of human reasoning. We get right down to the basics where we start. We start with the spirit world. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. We are body and spirit. My purpose here is to suggest that life is defined by the spirit rather than the body. That is, the body is truly dead only when the spirit no longer resides in the body. We each have a body that is uniquely us. We also have a spirit that is uniquely us. I've discussed the existence of the spirit world or spirit dimension previously, and we'll add that discussion at the end of this post. But for now, I will assume the existence of a spirit dimension. Study of the spirit is outside the scientific method. Our spirit is invisible to us, and we can't access it or touch it as a separate entity. We have no tools in science to determine how it was made, or from what materials, or where it goes when it leaves the body, or what it needs to survive, or how long it survives. And because we can't study it specifically, the skeptic chooses to deny it.
What I'd like to know is, where did you get the confidence from to make a film with such...
Ignorance. Sheer ignorance. You know, there's no confidence to equal it.
But we have evidence of its existence, that it is a dynamic consciousness, uniquely and individually us, and that it continues to live with our identity after our body has clinically died. This evidence rests in out-of-body experiences, OBEs, during near-death experiences, NDEs, wherein an individual's unique consciousness, which I will call spirit, leaves that person's body at the time of clinical bodily death and may float through walls, sometimes great distances, observing details while itself unobserved, significantly removed from its inanimate body. The key fact in this narrative is 2 places at the same time, verified by investigation. A body lying on a bed somewhere, while a consciousness of that very person observes events in a totally different location. If the spirit returns to the inanimate body, the body revives. In one account, the body was being wheeled to the morgue when the body of the person came back to life. I would love to have seen the response of whoever was pushing the cart. Just a reminder, you can find a lot of accounts of out-of-body experiences with near-death experiences with references in this book by Gary Habermas and J.P. Moreland. As I said, I'll attach more evidence of the spirit dimension to the end of this video, but my purpose here is to suggest that this spirit is the true definition of life. When a person's spirit leaves that person's body, the person is clinically dead. If the spirit does not return, the person remains dead. That is, we bury or cremate the body and have no contact with that person again in this life. If the spirit returns to the body, the person returns to life in this physical world. That appears to be true from the evidence. What we cannot verify is whether the spirit always leaves the body at clinical death. It's my admitted, unverifiable assumption that the spirit always does leave the body and continues vital for an indeterminate time upon permanent death of the body. OBEs are common with NDEs, but not universal. Why are they not universal? Why doesn't everyone have an out-of-body experience that they remember after a near-death experience? I don't know. The whole of the topic lay outside science, so we only can conjecture. I'll pass on that detail at this time. But spirit defines life. For that defense, I will refer to the Bible. Yes, atheists and deconstructionists, feel free to tune out for the rest of the post. First, Genesis 2:7. God formed man, then breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living person. Note that man had been created physically complete, but was not a living person until God gave him the breath of life. I'm not the first person to have considered that breath of life to be man's spirit. I see no reference of God breathing the breath of life into any of the animals. In that regard, I believe that life in men and women, boys and girls, is totally different from what is determined to be life among the plants and animals. Zechariah 12 begins with a description of God. It reads, "The Lord, who stretches out the heavens, lays the foundation of the earth, and forms the spirit of a person within him, declares," yada, yada, yada. Look at it. Do you see it as I see it? A couple similar verses are in 2 Kings 5:26 and Psalms 146, 3 and 4. And I won't go into those. I'll leave that to you. But in the New Testament, when Jesus raised Jairus' daughter, Matthew and Mark simply say the girl was raised. But Luke, the physician, gives the detail in Luke 8:55, which is, "And her spirit returned, and she got up immediately." The spirit defining life in mankind seems to be almost a given, something commonly understood in the Bible. But for review now, Let's backtrack to evidence for the very existence of the spirit dimension. There is a movement in Muslim countries of Muslim followers of Islam coming to Jesus.
In many Middle Eastern countries, it's illegal to share the Christian message. So what is God doing? He's bringing dreams about Jesus to these people. This is a phenomenon that is sweeping the Middle East. I'll give you an example. A woman named Noor, mother of 8, Muslim, lives in Cairo. One night, she has a Jesus dream. It's the most profound, vivid dream, unlike any other she's ever had. And Jesus appears to her. She feels the love and the grace and the forgiveness and the kindness of Jesus just radiating from him. And she's overwhelmed by it. She's never felt anything like it. And they're walking along a lake. And she says, Jesus, tell me more about you. And he says, my friend will tell you. A guy was walking with them along the lakeside. The next day, she goes to the crowded marketplace in Cairo. She sees the man from her dream. She goes up to him. You were in my dream. She said, whoa, what are you talking about? You were the man in my dreams. And he said, did you have a dream about Jesus?
You don't believe that. I've seen several posts confirming that, and even more convincing to me, I have a friend, an Egyptian friend, who knows people to whom that has happened, people to whom Jesus has appeared. This person who told me knows and is reliable. There are other instances. I have a nephew. He and his wife were house parents in Rift Valley Academy. In the early 1950s, there was an uprising of the Mau Mau tribe in Kenya. The tribe was going around destroying white people. They had completely taken out one village, over 300 people, and they were on their way to also destroy those at Rift Valley Academy, a boarding school for missionary children. The people at Rift Valley heard that the Mau Mau's were coming and called for military help. But the military didn't get there until after the Mau Mau's arrived. The Mau Mau's were on their way, but then turned and ran into the woods. The military captured the rebels and put them on trial, and during a trial they said, did you do what you did to this village? And the particular person on trial said, yeah, we did. Were you intending to do the same to Rift Valley Academy? He says, yeah, we were intending to. We were on our way. Well, why didn't you? They said, when we got there, the compound was surrounded by soldiers. They decided they better not attack, and they took off into the woods. Rift Valley Academy did not have anyone guarding it. Those were angels to protect those at Rift Valley Academy. When our second son was in grade school, we sent him to camp for a week. We sent him with a suitably packed suitcase. At the weekend, we picked him up. Of course, I was oblivious to this, but my wife noticed that he was wearing the same clothes that he was wearing when we dropped him off. She opened his suitcase. It had been untouched. He had lived the whole week at camp in the clothes he was wearing. She took him behind the car and made him change into clean clothes. In 2 Corinthians 5, Paul describes our physical body as a tent, a house, even as clothing for our real self, that is, our spirit. We might think of us as spirits camping out. Our bodies are the tents in which we're camping, or our bodies are the clothing we wear while we camp. When we're done camping here and finally go home, our Father gives us new, clean clothing, a new body. Even the atheist knows that if there would be any afterlife, it's not with this body. This body stays and decays. I don't want to minimize the value of the body, Paul reminds us in 1 Corinthians 6, 19 and 20, that this body is the home of the eternal us and of Christ's Spirit that lives with us. And as we live in this dimension, as we camp out here, it's our responsibility to keep our home and our clothes clean and in good repair. So our eternal self is spirit. So what? There are some very big so whats that go with that, I'll tell you. We'll take those in other parts.